Okay, can you hear me? Test, test, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Okay, we're back at it again. We're going to try to get this knocked out if possible. All right, I'm just going to grab some random parts that are appealing to me right now. What happened to that one? There we go. We'll do that one. Sure, why not? Okay. Hello, Blast Hello, Maniac Dan. Hello, Raving Raptors. Hello, Falling Pie. Hello, Keyhole God. Hello, Enola K. Spike wheels shall rise again, indeed. All right, let us look at this next. The next part we're going to look at now is Mantic's Antics part. By the way, gigacollab was just featured in one of the smaller Geometry Dash news channels. Let me see if I can find which channel that was again that featured it. Daily Geometry Dash 2.3 News featured the gigacollab. So it is in our general chat. If you haven't checked that out yet, I would recommend it. So first time a news channel has talked about it, which is awesome. All right, Mantis Antics part is in the beginning. There's right after Link Parade's part. So, hello, Mr. Penguin Eat. All right, we'll take a look at that again. There's a really cool coin route on this part if you've not checked that out yet. You can access it by falling instead of hitting this orb. This part, the background where it's showing you where to go is part of the section. That was part of the part that was given to me. The tap indicators is something that I added. And I also had to completely change the ending. This whole ending section I had to change because it was a blind click originally. I switched that to a portal and sinker, or a pad and sinker. And then this whole ending spot I had to edit because it used to be a maze. Other than that, there was nothing else I had to do. I added a coin route, I added pulse stick indications, and the ending was changed a little bit to make the gameplay more fair. So, yeah. Still want a daily dose of Geometry Dash. Yeah, it's been put in twice into the daily dose server, and it hasn't been seen both times. So I'm not entirely sure if they didn't like it or if they didn't think it was worthy. But we'll have to see. So yeah, this part, I really like the pillars. It is a very bit copy and pasted. And I did have to do a fair amount of fixes to it, but I do think it's still a great part. I would actually probably put it maybe right above Maroon's part. I do really like the maze-esque feel, but it's not actually a maze. I really love when somebody does that, and they did a nice job with that. So, yeah. I don't know why YouTube chat's so weird. Do we agree with this placement? Remember, we're looking at execution of the part, visual appeal of the part, as well as how much of a pain it was to merge for me. This one was, I would say, a moderate pain. I had to edit quite a few stuff in the back, so I'm thinking probably the top of great. Decoration probably could have used a little bit more, but I really do like how it shows you where to go in the pulsing. I think that's really awesome. In a similar vein of maze part, but isn't actually a maze, we have Muffin's 808 section, which is right here, actually. Right after Zitnik's. Yeah, when I first got this part, it was actually a maze. And so I had to make sure everything was... it's altered slightly. It wasn't that much of a change. I just moved some stuff a little bit around so that, and added some tap indications to really help sell where you needed to go. I also had to... they had scaled chains, so I had to unscale all the chains and position them in a way that looked scaled. Because they were doing the scaled chains on the outside of the spikes to give it a little bit of a blue hue. I changed that by adding black spikes to help hide the rest of the chains. But yeah, you can see it's a little bit more open now. The route is a lot more obvious. It's one of those that feels like a maze, but actually isn't a maze, which is really cool. Sorry about that. I do think this part is good. It did give me a bit of a headache because I had to change a bunch of scaled stuff, so I'm going to put it a little bit lower than the other one, but it's not too bad. I'm actually going to put it right above Note Block Ace's part. Yeah. I think it's pretty solid. It is a little bit, the execution might be a little bit weird. Deco I think is okay. Fixing is a moderate amount of fixes. It wasn't too bad. So I'm going to put it right here in great. Right below Keith's part, right above Note Block Aces. So, I agree with you, Goldcraft. It was a pretty creative part. And what's really interesting is Muffins actually, I don't think, participated in the contest. They were a spectator. So it was really cool seeing a spectator part. All right, I'm not seeing any chat recommendations. I'm going to keep it where it is. And we get to talk about one of the 4 parts that my test players gave some flack to. Curly Crew, not Curly Crew, sorry, Cubic Syrup. They're right after Hendog Games. Let's take a look at that one more time. So, bit of a story time. There were 2 parts that I requested NLK to redecorate and kind of change. Cubic Syrup part was one of them. Originally, this part went extremely high into the sky and then fell down at like the very last 2 beats. I, in my initial fix, shortened that, made the gameplay very much auto. A lot of the gameplay auto. But here's the thing, they didn't change the background color originally. The Giga chains aren't part of this. That's part of Hendog's Games part. This is the part that we're talking about right now. Of the construction set. This used to not be a construction part. This used to just be kind of like random objects in space. Like it was just random objects on a green background with 0 cohesion. Like the execution was really poor. Decoration was very sparse. So I wanted to keep the general feel of the part because the gameplay and like the elements that they came up with, I wanted to keep that as much as I could. But the issue was it was probably one of the least experienced parts that I had. So what NLK did here is stayed pretty faithful to what the original looked like, but also giving it some details that helped put it all together. This used to actually be a part of the gameplay. I moved it up and off screen so that we wouldn't have to deal with this. So it now just adds as a visual clarity thing because you're like, oh, I'm falling now. Gives you a little bit more, I guess, emotional experience. And then you fall into Jess Cody's part there. So, yeah. This section gave me a lot of headache starting right here. Because almost everything you see on screen that isn't like a weird gameplay thing was added by NLK. I don't know if that, I think that straight play was actually a fake route that they originally had inside it. This was one of my least favorite parts before the redeco. And just because of how much stuff we had to do with it, I'm putting it right here. Now it looks a lot better, but there was so much stuff we had to do to it to get it to this point. It's not a complete overhaul, but it's pretty dang close. Do we have any other opinions on it? We will reach another part that we had to basically do a complete redeco overhaul on. And I will tell you when we get to that. So I'm going to put it right here for right now because one of the... Oh, you want to do hen dog games while we're at it? Yeah, why not? So they had the part before this one. So here's hen dog games' part. Imagine the chains are gone, like the giant chains are gone, and the support beams are gone, and you got what I was given. Oh, and the pulsing was gone. And these chains were gone. Yeah, it was a really empty part. Gameplay was fine. I think I just needed to do some slight tweaks to make sure like this was not skippable and some other stuff, but it wasn't bad. I added this as further name because I didn't really have a spot for it. But NLK did some touch-ups on this. The giant chains are actually something I added. So all these big chains are something that I included. I missed that one, unfortunately. I should have continued that upwards. But I added the giant chains. NLK added the support beams as well as some of the portal decorations. And that, all of that with pulsing kind of pulls it all together. So once again, it was not a bad part. Maybe just a bit poorly executed. It's still a good part. I would probably put it... I'd probably put it here. Not much of a headache regarding nerfing. But I'm actually going to put this part a little bit higher. I think it does more than these other sections did. Yeah, I'm going to put it right here, right below Pinkman. So yeah, it did require a lot of extra work. It turned out pretty well, though. Not as much work as Cubic Shoop's part. But I think putting it near Pinkman's would be okay. I actually liked it, the look of it better than Pinkman's part, but it was a little bit less. No, I'm going to put it above Pinkman. Pinkman's part was a bit spammy, so. If you disagree with me, though, you can feel free to let me know. All right, let's take a look at some of the other ones I put up here. Blackbird is at the beginning here. Blackbird's part starts right after this structure right here. Yeah, I really like the way Blackbird structured this. This tunnel really gives you like the sense of movement throughout the section. We got these really aesthetically pleasing, clean designs all around. The water's a little bit less so, but of course, the arrows look really cool, and we got our staple Blackbird pixel art in the middle of it. So, yeah. Really like the structuring of this. This is very smooth. The ending cube part honestly feels a little scary because some of the platforms feel a bit late, and I did have to move the platforms over to our right to make it feel more comfortable for the player. But we also get some of these sticking out spikes, which look really, really cool. This gap I had to widen just a tad because if you entered it late, it would kill you, but not a big change at all. And the chains look excellent holding up these structures. Just overall, a really well done part. Like, I think this is an S tier. There was a couple tweakings that I had to do with it, but I would say visually it puts it probably... Honestly, I might put it above the airship. What do you think? S+ tier for the burb. Yeah, I could see that. Fifth is fair. Okay. Yeah, fair. Okay, we will keep it there. Yeah, really like Blackbird's part. Was very happy to see when he created that. Very happy to see the bird, especially. Yeah, fair superior. All right. Next one we're going to look at is one that actually was a bit controversial between me and one of my test players. And okay, I think you know all about it. Okay, so this is a bootleg Tributies part, which, if you don't know anything about Tributi, is that they entered probably one of the hardest entries to the collab. So when I first got their part, it was very difficult, but this is after all the nerfs that we did. Those flashes are on LDM as well. That's a little bit on the bright side, but something I really like about this part is that it syncs so well. Every click is represented in a sync. And there used to be an orb in this cube portal. It used to just flip you to normal gravity, and you have to tap these orbs like this. I erased this after much deliberation with NRK, because he could not, or they could not manage to do this without killing themselves, and I really didn't understand how, but I changed it to this. Also, they got this up at the top. Mobile Squad to represent. Visual-wise, I do think this part is excellent. Lot good there visually. Execution was pretty fair as well. The gameplay was just too hard. And when I was merging it in, I did my fixes, and then I sent them a video, and they were like, this is exactly how I envisioned this part being. So the fixes I did initially on was all good according to Tributi. So it is still a little bit difficult, but final product is really fun. I think this is an excellent part. It probably would have been superior if the gameplay was a little bit on the better when it was originally given to me. I do think it's better than Wes and Sulky's. I would probably put it here, personally. Let me know your thoughts. So that's right below Vandil's part, which I personally love Vandil's part. It would be an S for me. But seems fair to NLK and Kath and T-Double. Okay. We'll see if it's the first rated epic level. I don't think so. We haven't had a whole lot of luck in the send department recently. We had one yesterday, and I don't know who sent it. We're at 7 sends at the moment with the collab. But yeah, we got our first news channel advertisement, which is awesome. But yeah. Yeah, first being the second in A rank. Yeah. All right, and we're going to look at Curlian's part next. That's going to be back here. Yeah, very spacious part. I do like that it's easy. I think the decoration is well done for what it is. I'm not a fan of the yellow pad particles. I know that that's added to add some extra flair to it, but it does look a little odd. Now, there was actually a change that I had to make regarding going below here. We actually had to block that off. That was unintentional. Oh, I think we blocked it off by doing something, but you were able to swipe up from below into the cube portal. And we did fix that, so. But yeah, pretty clean part. I think the deco, there could have been a little bit more background deco, like maybe grid block pillars or something around that. I do enjoy the openness. I don't think it's S tier worthy, but I do think it probably goes pretty high in our excellent category. I don't know if it goes that. I'm going to put it right below McChicken's part, just because McChicken's part worked really well where it was placed. I'm going to put it right here. Kind of the middle of excellent. But oh, you think above Polvanok? Right here, then? Is that what we're thinking? Or do we think next to McChicken? I feel like above Polvanok's a little high. Because Polvanok also got the ending thing, so... What do you think? Should we put it here or should we put it next to McChicken? Yeah, Raving Rafters sent Always Forever. They're actually the first person to send Always Forever. Fun fact. Does it go here or does it go here? Tough choice. I would personally put it here. Probably put it right. Yeah, I'm going to put it right next to McChicken. Perhaps Polvanok needs to be moved down a little bit, but I'm going to keep it where it is for now. Think it's below my part? Maybe. Okay, we still got a lot to get through here. Let's see. Let's do some Circle Boys. They feature some prominent circles in their part. That's got a lot of circles. Let's do a circle on that one. And Kmart's part has some circles. Okay. Oh, thank you, OBS, for freezing. All right, next one we're going to look at is Reapertron 2. They start right here. Now, I think Reapertron's honestly one of the more underrated creators with no creator points at the moment. Because Reapertron's decoration job is excellent. It's just their gameplay often suffers. Yeah, the 1.0 part's no different. If you've not seen their entry Schizophrenia, I would highly recommend giving it a check, because it's got some crazy art inside that. Yeah, here's the part. I think the execution is quite well done. I did have to move these ending pillars a little bit farther over because they used to be a little bit too tricky to tap and they used to be a little bit more blind. So I did have to fix the gameplay just a little bit. We also ended up fixing this part a little bit more. Also, interesting fact, I accidentally erased all of these yellow portals on LDM, so you just jump into the blue portal. It changes it a little bit, but it's not too bad. But yeah, I think it's a stellar looking part. Gameplay's a little strange, but not too bad once you learn it. Didn't give me too much trouble. I did have to do a couple preliminary nerfs here and there, but some of these, like this spike design is just awesome. The giant circles are really well done. I would personally put it in the superior tier. I don't know what y'all would think, but I think it'd probably be somewhere up here. Oh, you're thinking high A, maybe? Maybe I'm glossing. Okay, so you're thinking like right here? Okay, fair enough, fair enough. How are we thinking? Top of A then? Or are we thinking a little bit farther down? Top of excellent. Okay, I agree with that. It is a little bit messy. I do think that the portal execution is well, but everything between it does feel a little bit claustrophobic, maybe a little bit on the messy side. All right, we'll put it there then. Okay, let's look at another circle. It's at the very beginning, actually. This is a beginner's part. I'm pretty sure Slodziak, you were actually the person who commented you were concerned regarding this section with the orb in the center. Yeah, a beginner. A beginner. Yeah. It does have good execution. I do feel like it feels a bit on the messy side with how many arrows and blue decorations we've got, and the green on the orange on the blue kind of looks a little bit odd to me. Yeah, it just feels a bit on the messy side. So like I'm thinking somewhere in excellent personally, but yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the colors either. I do still think it's would be placed in excellent. Where in excellent I'd put it, I would probably put it probably here. No, I'm changing my mind. I'm gonna put it right here. Are you thinking bottom third? Well, Scorch has had a lot of problems. I do think it has a little bit more deco in comparison to this one. So, last in A. Maybe I'm being a bit too optimistic then. Okay, we can do last in A. Maybe it is a... We could also do top of great. I could put it there. Actually, that does feel a little bit more comfortable for it. Honestly, I might even put it below. No. Actually, yeah, I'm going to put it here. Oh, you think bottom of excellence better? Okay, well, maybe we'll just do right below Chaikin's. Yeah, I agree with you, Slod. I'm gonna put it probably right next to Chaikin's part. Yeah, and we could do some reordering later. I'll ask you at the end of this if there's any that you would like to see moved. So think about the ones that you would like to maybe see changed. Lofi, did we rank your part? I think we did. Maybe we didn't. We might not have ranked yours yet, actually. Yeah, we haven't ranked yours yet. It's down here. How about we do that one after our circle gang? Okay. Next one is Xanax's part. Ooh, a lot of talking on my end. Xanax's part is Rafter Pinkman. So here it is. This part is clean. I like the way that was executed. Oh, we could do Raven Rafters too. Yeah, I forgot that has circles in it. But yeah, this part's clean. It's also, I don't think I had to do much of any changes to it because everything's really well laid out. It's just all around a really solid part. That visual, I did change the visuals of that transition below. Because right now you can see right below that. I did change that. I'm not taking that off for them. But yeah, and even like the details of the tiny dots on the ground and the ceiling really just help add to that. I think it's very cleanly done. I would personally put this as an excellent. I think it's cleanliness in execution puts it up here. I would probably put it around this part in the excellent. But what's the highest ranked part so far? Ismail the best part. You think higher than that, NLK? Where would you put it roughly? Would you put it above Sulky's Yin Yang? Before mine? Okay, we're going to put it right. I see two people saying right next to Sulky's, but 2 before yours. You want to put it all the way next to Polvanok? Yeah, once again, the order doesn't matter too much to me. I do think it's better than these 2 parts, though, actually. Actually, I'd say it's better than all 3 of those. I'm going to put it ahead of all 3 of those. The other way. So you want it kind of like right here. I can see that. I'm going to put it right here, actually. It's very similar to our other blue ships. But yeah, specific placement is really hard to determine. Especially now that we're getting to the end game. There's so many levels to place. So I'm not going to rely too much on that. Let me find Raving Rafters part to boost up there. That's something we're going to do. There's... Oh, and Pancakes is also circly. Okay. Goldcraft. It's right before Vandil, I believe. There it is. Yeah, there's a little bit of choice decision in the ending there where you can kind of skip some stuff, but overall, a very well decorated section. For sure, yeah. Yeah, like one of my personal favorites is probably in the Excellent. Yeah, Ampersand I really like. It's an Excellent just because of the gameplay changes. There's some others that I really do enjoy. There's some, like even the great, like No Pluck Aces part I really like. So it's not a definitive tier list. It's just we're basing it off of a criteria. So yeah, there was some nerfs having to be done inside this rocket part. It used to be that there were spikes on both the ceiling and the floor in the same spots. That was a little bit too tough. I think some of this we had to widen out a little bit. And this, you're supposed to hit the pads and land into that, which used to be very difficult. So we also had to pad it back here just to make it an easier transition. But yeah, and then that goes straight into Van Dilt's part. I do like the pulsing in that. That might be a hot take. I do think the pulsing is good. And Goldcraft, yeah, Goldcraft is pretty experienced inside older editors, mainly the 1.9 editor, though. I would put this as a pretty high Excellent, personally. Probably like right below Cody's part, maybe. You did not like the pads. Fair enough. I do like that, too. I like how they're, even if they mess up, you can go. Yeah, Vladimир's part's right here in Superior. Did we agree with this placement of Goldcraft's part? Works for you, Raven Rafter? Good, good. Yee, perfect. All right. Let's finish off some of our circly stuff. Not so circly as Kmart's. I put it in here anyway because it's kind of. Now, here's a fun fact. This was the first part ever finished for the Giga Collab besides my own. So this is the first player-submitted part. Yeah, it's a little bit on the messy side execution-wise. I will say, this part of the song was really hard to sync to the backgrounds. I also had a tough time doing that. And the background flashes do kind of reveal the effect that they were going for. So I do think it's pretty messy. The gameplay is a little bit out of sync, especially this ending. But they were also the first person to finish. The orbs are in sync. All the other parts are kind of a little bit out of sync. I would say it's kind of meh execution, meh deco. Let me pause for a moment. All right, we got 60 parts left. I am unmuted now. Sorry, we had to figure stuff out. I'm putting it right here. I do think it is better than the Furum Matte Mart spam. So I think this is probably a good spot for it. By the way, Danalex is streaming. I'm going to take a break to make sure that the Giga Club gets sent to them. So you can probably watch me send it in. So if you want to also submit the Giga Club in, you can. I gotta make sure I grab the non-time. All right. Any objections to the placement of Cat at Kmart's part? Hey, that's awesome. All good. Perfect. All right. We got like 60 of these cranked through, so I'm going to maybe go a little bit faster. All right. Looks like we got Lofi's part up next. Let me find that. That's actually back here somewhere. Right here. Now, Lofi's part was one of the parts that was also really hard. So we did have to do quite a bit of fixes. I'll show it off. Really like the ending. The ending auto section really helps transition into the next section. Fix-wise, I did have to move this whole spike structure a little bit to the right and down so that this orb was a lot easier to hit. Beforehand, it used to be very difficult to hit. We added this pad here because jumping from this was a little inconsistent. We also moved moved this structure around to make this orb a little bit easier to hit, as well as spaced out these portals a little bit. This whole structure was raised and lowered to make this an easier chip gap. I erased the 2 big spikes here, as well as shrink this down to a small spike so that this was a more passable gap for the ship. And that was all the changes, so... yeah, a moderate amount of gameplay fixes in this part as well. But visually, it's a really cool part. And once I did the gameplay fixes, I actually quite enjoyed the gameplay. Ugh. So, let me see. I would probably put this in the low excellent tier, maybe. I think I'm going to put it right below Ambersand's. So, high grade opinion. I've not ranked your part yet, Scarf. We could also put it in high grade. I think the deco pushes it into excellent personally. Maybe we put it in low excellent. Yeah. Okay, we got 2 more circle-based parts to do, and then we'll go from there. Next one. Oh, who's leaving? Who's leaving soon? Oh, yeah, we can take a look at yours. Simpex. Let's do that one next, because we're leaving soon. Hopefully I haven't left yet. Alright, it starts right here. Now, this is the guy who made Skyfall and Reliquary. There's a secret coin up there, as Raven Raptors just showed off. We added this pad for transition reasons. I almost never use it. I prefer to just hold into that rocket section and then release. But this is a really nice part because they made like the 1.9 spikes on the bottom and the top by using the pulse sticks spammed downwards. It gives a really nice effect. I really like the background that they used here. I will say I'm not a huge fan of like the whites in the backgrounds, but it changes to blue soon enough. And of course, we got that secret high coin way up there. Very fun visual part, I think. These crumbling, almost like castle relic stuff also looks really cool. So yeah. Gameplay, I think, is fine. I did have to nerf it slightly by moving some structures around to make it open enough. It is a really bright part. It is also a really creatively done part. I personally would put it probably somewhere, maybe right here. Do we think it should be higher than this? Because I could also see that. Maybe perhaps there. You're thinking mid. Okay, we'll go back to the mid. Put it right above mine. Okay. Beach and Pirates is mine. So glad I was able to do a neon beach theme. All right, now let's look at Raving Rafters part. Excellent sync gameplay wise. Don't want too far back. Overgrown cave and temple aesthetic. Chains like mines of spikes to make bird talon statue thingies. Ooh, really cool. I can see that. That's awesome. I did have to actually shorten some of the talons. That's something that I did do to make it a little bit more fair in the cube transitions. The talons got slightly shortened. Hope that's not too bad. Something to also mention is that Raving Rafters actually originally used the small spikes that weren't one from 1.0. So I did do a quick switch out, which wasn't too bad. So I switched out to normal spikes for all of our circles. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But it is a very well done design part. I do love the pulsing that you used in it as well. Especially with the black spikes kind of giving a close in that really helps sell the cave theme. This is certainly going in the excellent tier, in my opinion. Where exactly I'd put it? That's a great question. It's better than that. Below Cody. I can see that. Yeah, that might be a good spot for it. Yeah, also, yeah, there's a ton of enter effect stuff in that one. That's really cool. Both you and Pancake did that. Seeing an above Cody, seeing a below Cody, seeing either side of Cody. And okay, do you have a preference? Yeah, that's how I think a lot of people have felt about their sections. You have no preference. Okay, I'm putting it below Cody then. I'll leave it where it is. Last, really circly part, I think. It doesn't even be that one, but whatever. We're gonna look at Pancakes. Pancake did a similar enter effect to Raving Rafters. Now, Pancake's part was one of those parts that I just didn't have to touch at all. It was well done from the beginning. Really like the background, really like the connection between all the circles. The particles are maybe a little bit on that messier side, but I think they work well on both the floor and the ceiling there. This is one of those parts that I think is probably bottom superior. Yeah, I'm thinking probably... it's hard to get stuff up there now. I'm thinking it's going somewhere in here. I might put it there, honestly. Baseline standard for it. Okay, we could do that. Because I was wondering if it was very top of excellent or very bottom of superior. I think we're going to put at the very bottom of superior. So, yeah. Yeah. Superior is getting pretty full. We're at, 13 levels in it? That's awesome. Okay, we need to find some more levels to do. Let's do that one. This one. This one. And this one. Okay, yeah, we'll do these next 5. Okay, Azorhino's part is right before Scorches, which should be, yeah. I do think it looks really good with the background color they chose. This is one of those parts where I didn't do much changing to it, surprisingly enough. So. Goodbye, Railing Rafters. Thank you so much for joining. We appreciate your feedback. This rocket part is considered to be one of the biggest choke points right now in the collab, from what I've heard. And I just didn't change it much. I raised and lowered it like slightly. Otherwise, NLK put in the slab. And I never had problems with it. Apparently a lot of other people have problems with it, so. Otherwise, I do like the structuring on this. It does feel a bit amateurish with the way some of the blocks are designed. Because like you can see right past that instead of it being fully connected by black spikes. And like this has a weird fill-in. This block looks awesome. I think this looks very cool, especially with the sliding spikes kind of connecting stuff there. Yeah, and the other blocks look fine. Just the beginning looks a little weird, in my opinion. The pulsing is nice as well. I would personally put this in a high good. I'd like put it maybe right below 4x4's part. I think it's a great part. It's just, it looks a little awkward. And some of the gameplay is a little bit on the tricky side, so. Yeah, all right. Let's continue. BK Gaming Online. Oh boy. Bit of a story time with this part. All right, story time. BK Gaming Online, when they submitted their CC entry to the contest, left in the description saying, I hope I get top spot because I really want to collab with you. So, another thing you need to know is BK Gaming Online is not part of the Discord. They're just someone who's a non-Discord member. So I sent them a message saying, would you like to participate in the gigacollab? It's a chance for you to collaborate with me. And I waited a long time and they said, sure, send me the ID. And keep in mind, I asked them this before I got the gigacollab people ready. They sent me that message when it was like wave 2. Or no, they sent me that message a day before I got it finalized. So I put them inside wave 2. And I sent them a message saying, okay, you're in wave 2. Get ready to go. Never responded back. Sent them a message saying, okay, here's you're going now. Here's the ID. Go ahead and build. Message me when you're done. Didn't respond. I kept their spot because I knew how badly they wanted to collab with me. They responded to me in like wave 6 saying, I can't find the ID. So I resent it out to them. Waited. It was like around wave 9 or 10 that they finally like, here's my part. I'm done. And it was, I think wave 9. I was like, oh my God, they actually finished. I can't believe they finished. He took so long to respond. He had to have like GD permissions or something. Like he could only play it for like 3 hours a day or something. Because I waited so long for him to respond to me and get his part finished. But here is the part. We did have to do a lot of nerfing related to this rocket section. I had no trouble with it. My test players thought it was a little bit too tight. So I did have to move some spikes around to also keep it in a spot where you had to hit the orbs instead of holding through. I think I erased a spike jump inside the mouth here. Yeah, and then these were moved around to make that a little bit easier as a transition. But yeah. It's not anything mind-blowing decoration-wise. I do think it's really fun. It's a fun part to play. Oh yeah, decoration execution, nothing mind-blowing. A couple fixes here and there, but I do think it is a solid, great part. I would personally put it right above, actually probably right above maroon. I think it's fun. So. Yeah, that was the guy from Wave 2 that took to Wave 9. I'm seeing... I could also see it being boosted up. I don't think it's better than 4x4's part, personally. So I'm going to probably put it right here. But I do see an argument with the gameplay does make it an excellent. I think it needs to do a little bit more visually and execution-wise to really boost it a little bit higher. Okay. Seems God. Ooh. Let's talk about T-Double's part. Starts right here. I really like this part. It's simple, done really well. Like these block design is these blocks looks incredible. And its execution is like really flawless. Like even these chains are very smooth in the way that they are constructed. These blocks look perfect in their symmetry. I like it a lot. And it's one of those parts where as I continue to put stuff in the gigacollab, kept just growing on me. This is also a section where I had to do little to no changes to. So like fixing out of the ballpark, I would put this in the excellent tier. In very high excellent. I'm going to put it right below dragons. I think it's a high A personally, but I will go by what you all have to say. Mid to high excellent. Yeah, I'm going to leave it here. Yeah, Milton, I could actually do yours now. Bit of a larger screenshot, but let's do a Milton's part since they asked about it. I really like the gameplay in this was pretty flawless. There wasn't really any problems I had with it. This you could technically kill yourself if you're stupid by holding, but these rounded grid spikes is something that I think was pretty common in Milton's levels, and they work really well here. The decoration's certainly simple. I do like how they kind of made it a little bit jagged to give it some motion. And the gameplay is very good. This is another part that I would consider to be an excellent. Some of the decoration choices I find a little bit odd, like these spikes along the grid blocks. I'm not sure if I entirely agree with. And then some of the solid block spam, or not spam, but the solid block lining at the bottom and top of these is another thing I personally question, but that I don't think takes away from the fact that it's a very well-made part. I do think this is an excellent part. I would probably put it around mid. Like maybe there. I do really like these two rocket sections. I'd probably put it here, but I'd like to see what you have to say. Scarf, I do a random order. I could do yours as well. Let me finish the, let me do these two and then I'll do yours, Scarf. Okay, next one is Bug Day Bays parts. Starting right here at the rocket portal. There's some really good elements in a vacuum. There's also just some parts that I kind of question why they made the decision they did. For one, this was one of the hardest parts to fix, because it was outrageously difficult. Like, I believe there were portals in this part originally. I had to erase a bunch of stuff from it. Had to erase a ton of spikes here, I believe. This had to be fixed because there used to be, I think, orbs. We fixed the pads. This had a triple jump immediately after entering the cube. If you entered too high, it would just instantly kill you. This whole part, you had to jump between all of these, jump over a spike that was right here, which would flip you into an upside down there, which then you would land over here. Again, very difficult if you entered the part wrong. This used to be actual straight fly at the end, too. Which I, of course, fixed by putting grid blocks right over it. So there's grid blocks over all of the spikes. The deco is interesting. I don't think it's executed very well, personally. I do feel it's a bit spammy. These are apparently supposed to be mushrooms. I couldn't really tell. But another thing I'm not a huge fan of is I nerfed this in a state where I could beat it personally. And the creator got really mad at me because I ruined their part. Also, these flashes, I don't know why they're there, because all they do is create an eyesore for the player. By my personal opinion, I don't like this part at all. There was a whole lot of stuff I had to do to this. My fixes were the best I could do to keep it in line with everything else. Keep in line with the rest of the collab. I don't like this color spam at the end. I think, and this whole ending section just kind of feels a bit like a cluster to me. Especially like the decal decorations in between the black blocks. Like that feels like a mess. For me personally, this is a top C. That's my personal opinion. But I also understand that I might be very biased against this because of the way that the person acted towards me, as well as the way that I've had to fix this. So, yeah, that's my opinion. It's a pretty spammy and albeit a little bit messy part. I don't want to come off as rude, though. It's a great part. I'm glad that they participated. It works really well in the collab. It's just I had to do a lot of fixing to it, and the way that they reacted to my fixing does make me feel a little bit bad about it. Yeah. I feel bad for having to fix the part, but in its entirety, it was a solid medium demon. So like there wasn't much else I could do. I was kind of stuck in a hard place, I guess. So once again, Bug Day Bay, if you're watching this, please don't take offense. I love your part. I love that you participated. It's just it didn't sit right with me with the gameplay. So I did what I could. Sorry it wasn't good enough. Yeah, I'm gonna put it right here in low B. If you think it should go higher, let me know. Once again, I do realize that maybe my opinions might be a little bit biased on that one. Yeah. I really hope I didn't offend anybody there. Because that's not my intention at all. Here's Plasma Puff's part. Something I really, really love about Platypus part is look at the sides of the part as it plays, and you will see an amazing effect. Oh, that's like spike there. Look at the sides. Isn't that mental? I never would have thought of doing something like that. I mean, I did something similar in Golden Haze, but not to that extreme. That is mad impressive. Yeah, it's an enter effect, but the way that they layered the blocks, no, they did several 1.0 enter effects on top of each other, I believe. The way that the blocks were layered works really, really well. Yeah. So I think I really like the way that enter effect works. In terms of fixes, I think I did have to move a little bit near the ending. I had to expand it out by 1 block because it was just a little bit too sudden. But otherwise, I think this is a really solid part personally. I love the cave vibe. It's like Frozen Cave-esque. I honestly would put it in S, or in Superiors. And the placement I would put it is probably right below Psychopro. No, actually, I'm going to put it right above Psychopro. Hey, Nitro. Good to see you here. Yeah, I'm thinking a low mid S, maybe. Oh, actually, I'll put it right above Lyrt. It is an excellent part, so. All right. I'm going to do Scarf's part next, because I see Scarf in chat. Where is Scarf's? Scarf was right after BK, I believe. Now, something about Scarf's part is you'll see a lot of designs in here that I think are pretty brilliant for 1.0. Like, those designs are really well done. Oh, I forgot to back to BK Gaming Online's part real fast. Forgot to mention, these orbs used to be scaled to give it a bigger look. I think they used to be a pink orb, too. I had to fix that, so just something else to keep in mind with BKs. But yeah, Scarf's part, great use of the sinker portals. This is probably one of the biggest and earliest sinker portal usage parts. So I'm glad that happened. I really like that rocket ending. I know NLK wasn't a huge fan of it because it was a little too difficult, they said, but I think it works really well. I think this part's clean. I like the different designs through here. The pulsing and sync is also on point. So, like, the execution in this is awesome. Now, I did have to do a couple nerfs, like moving some spikes around to make things a little bit easier, but it's very, very low maintenance part, all things considered, in terms of fixes. Like a low fix part. It's also one of the most fun parts in the collab, personally, so. I don't think it ruins the vibe. I think it works really well. I would personally put this at a bottom superior, but I could also see an argument for high excellent. I would personally put it here, but high A, okay. I could also see there being like high A. I would actually put it above Reapertrons if it was high A, though, because I think it was a lot better executed. I think its execution and sync pushes it into superior for me personally, but I would love to see what y'all have to say. You think it's low superior or high A? It is a tough choice. I agree. Top A. King Kath says S. Do we have anyone else in chat that could also comment? I just saw Milton left. All right, I'll keep it at the top of A for right now, or top of excellent, but that's a toss-up for me. Maniac Dan says superior for the part. Okay. Well, maybe I should move it to the... Yeah, I'll put it at the bottom of superior for right now. Toss-up. We have a lot of excellence, so I think we can push superior into there. All right, let's get some of these other ones done. That one. That one. That one. We'll keep that one. Keep that. Okay, we'll do the next 5. To be honest, Jonathan. Right after Santi's part. I think this is a well-executed part as well. I really like Jonathan's style likes to use these dot blocks inside black, and I think it looks really cool. These spike rings are really well done. The background stuff's well done. The blocks, I think, could have been maybe a little bit better. They look a little on the simpler side, especially compared to the stuff in the below the blocks. So I was personally thinking high excellent on this one. I did have to tweak a little bit of the ending because it was a little awkward in, I think, the portals in particular. Sozak is mid-S at least. Wow. And NLK is saying high A or high excellent. Okay. So this is probably another toss-up one. I think I would say Scarf and Pancakes is an entry superior, and I would say like Scarf's sync and gameplay I think was fun enough to put in superior. I don't know if John's part gets the sync that as well as that one did. So I'm going to put John's right here at the top of A, personally. So I also really love the details everywhere. But oh, you're saying it's lower in A? Like here? You think below Slod? Slod, do you agree with that? Mid A enough. Oh, wow. Hey, Jonathan, you're in chat. Awesome. We're debating if yours should be at the top of excellent or farther down. So, you had to fix a lot of gameplay in John's part? Really? Are you sure? All right, I guess we will move it down. I'll put it right here. Show you the part again? Yeah. Oh, you're thinking of a different one? Yeah, that's what I thought. I'll put it right below T-double. I think it does a lot. I think T-doubles does a better job with the like the dot arts. It kind of feels like a more unique approach. Though I do really like, to be honest, Jonathan's part. It works really well in the collab. I think it's a solid high tier excellent. So, my personal opinion, though. Okay. Speaking about dot art, we got the almost there text inside Thief Gaming's part. Just right back here. Once again, Thief Gaming had like that style of, there we go, a little bit maze-like, but we have a trail kind of showing you where to go. And then an arrow pointing down to where you need to fall. No problem, Jonathan. Your part was really solid. I actually really like that they did this cube portal thing where you got to avoid the right until the right one. This ending section is beautiful. Like with those chain pillars, the almost there text, and the triple telling you to go. That is an excellent transition, in my opinion. Is it superior? I don't think so, personally. I do like this part personally. It is a little bit on the emptier side. I also agree. I would personally put it in the excellent tier. I might put it right here. I do think it's slightly better than some of the parts below it. The ending's really good. I also really like the gameplay. Personally, I like the cube portals being a hazard. I also think the cube portals look visually interesting, especially for the collab. So that's where I'm going to put it. Unless y'all disagree, which is totally fine. Ooh, wow, I'm running out of time here. Let's do Russian Rob Tups. This is Penguin Mean King. There's Russian Rob Tups. Castle with a very cool art of Castle Crasher at the end. Again, I think this is a solid excellent. The gameplay, I had to tweak a little bit, but not too bad. Personally put it here. Yeah. But yeah, King Kath, we could do yours. Actually, I don't like the way that the spikes look. They kind of don't match the rest of the castle vibe. I'm actually going to put it a little bit lower. I'm going to put it there. Low S at least. Wow. Yeah, the knight is cool. I don't like the gameplay personally, but maybe I do boost it a little higher. Yeah, I'll put it right next to the dragons. I think that makes sense. Knight by the dragons. All right, let's do King Kath's part. King Kath, that's Hydrofox. So King Kath will be here. We'll do these next. King Kath. Now, what I will mention is that there's not a whole lot of like background sync in this section, but you've got some really, really nice blocks Maybe something to fill up some of this empty space. It does look a little bit barren, but solid gameplay, solid execution, I think. Perhaps maybe using a little bit more decoration inside the backgrounds, as well as pulsing in the background. But these are some really nice circles. I also really like the chain design. Where to put it? It is certainly a great part. I'm debating if it should go into the bottom of excellent or the top of great. I will say I didn't have to do too many changes to it, so I think I will put it in the A, or in the excellent. I'm going to probably put it right here. I do like it a little bit better than Nitro's. I just wish there was maybe some more pulsing to it, personally. Because I could also see that being a top of great, but fair enough, yeah. That's something to mention. King Cath was a sub, so they did not get to choose what type of song they got, whether they got the intense or the calm. So they probably got a section that they weren't entirely huge on, but I appreciate them for finishing it out anyway. They were also during a time where a lot of people weren't finishing, so I greatly appreciate it, Cath. All right, let's talk about Como Indo's part. Okay, now this, I don't know if I copied this wrong, but there's a lot of just stuff that doesn't feel finished in this, like these sections. They feel really weird. They just don't feel like connected with anything. Like they're just floating off into space. Otherwise, it's visually cool. I don't like the in-betweens. I think they might be trying to sell like scatteredness. Maybe kind of space feel. But some of this block designs don't look entirely the best. It is a really cool part. I don't know if the execution was the best. Like, it looks visually cool, but its execution looks a little bit odd. This was also a part I actually had to do a lot to fix too, because there was a lot of skips between spikes because they weren't connected anywhere. As well as there was a really weird problem that I'm not going to blame them for, that the rocket would get shoved below at this obstacle. For some reason, you could go below as a rocket. I don't know why. Personally, I would put this in high excellent. Like probably there. I'm seeing people saying that's S. Yeah, it's the GD 2.2 hitboxes. Rob Tup changed them. I am seeing some people saying S. I don't think the execution is good enough for S personally, but if you all think S, I'll put it in S. So I'm just going to wait to see what other people say. Not seeing any more comments. So I guess I will put it in S. Do I think it goes above Pancake? Oh, you want to talk about most underwater section of the collab? I can pull that one up. See that one, actually. This was a part that was actually underwater themed. May's part. We even got a pufferfish. So this is supposed to represent being underwater. Now, personally, I do think it's a little over decorated, and we only had to do one change, which was moving the pufferfish up, because it used to be a little low, and you would slam into the spikes. But I do think the execution might be a little bit on the lacking side with this. It's a lot of objects. Gameplay though is fine. Its decoration looks really, really cool. It is very messy is the problem I have. But I could also see people arguing S. I personally, I would put it in excellent tier. Probably below the dragons. But hey, amazing build, man. Good to see you here. Yeah, personally, I think it's a little too messy. I'm going to put it right below the dragons. But if you disagree, you can feel free to tell me in chat. All right, let's talk about Darinator's part. After Russian Rob Tops, we're going to watch this one more time. Here's Darinator's part. Now something, this is supposed to represent acid, I believe. And that's a good representation. They also have the green to help sell the acid feeling. Some really cool stuff in the background. There used to be a coin up here, but you could skip it by jumping up. So I erased it. It's now a split path, which is also pretty good. The designs, I think, are a little lacking. I don't like the solid white squares all around it, personally. But the crate designs are pretty good. Now, there's another thing. I don't like how they didn't change the ground here. We get green ground on a red background, which that just sells Christmas to me. It's supposed to be grass? I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be acid, but maybe that shows what I know, because I thought this was a factory with all the crates, but maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, some of these designs, I don't think sell what they were going for, personally. I do like the beginning a lot, but when they switch to the red background, it kind of loses a little bit of the edge to me. I don't know, my personal opinion. I still think it is a good part. Not a good part, a great part. I still think it's a great part. I would probably place it probably right before maroons. Right there. But let me know what you think. You're thinking mid-high A? Really? I'd be with you if the quality didn't dip in the end. I think a high B works for it. I will boost it higher in B. Maybe we call it high B. Low A. I'll keep it in high B. I think I do prefer a beginner's part above this one. Oh, I will put it there. Okay. Next up, we got Invo. Starts right here. Do I have a lot to talk about this one? Once again, one of the more difficult parts of the AMC. And difficult was... When I got this part, I had no idea what to do. This was, I think, the hardest part for me to figure out stuff to nerf besides oceanic waves. it's visually impressive, but it's way too hard when I originally got it. Like, I asked them if they could nerf it for me, but before I figured it out myself, because used to be I had to jump here at this pad to then be teleported up and not jump to hit the spikes. Then you have to jump here to enter this portal, where you then have to hit this jump, hit the teleblocks jump, hit the teleblocks jump, and then get launched into a pad. And then you launch into another pad. But these pads in the portals used to not be there. The expectation used to be you had to read this by jumping immediately, which was not a 7-star difficulty. So, unfortunately, I had to do a ton of nerfs to this. Jump. There used to not be a pad here. You had to jump immediately after entering that teleblock. Jump immediately after entering this portal. And then you had to jump all of these. Except it used to be, there used to not be this extra block here, or this tap indicator. You had to jump on this tiny block for it to actually count, which was such a hard thing to do. I also added an arrow. They added the arrow here. I also made sure that you didn't die on the arrow, so it would be a more even transition. But looks-wise, probably S tier. Gameplay-wise, with just how much stuff I had to fix, I'm putting it in the great tier. I'm going to put it probably right above Chaikin's part. But I don't even think it's mid-A. Mid-excellent. The amount of fixing I had to do for this puts it in the great. Personally. Because it was an insane demon when I first got it. Visually impressive. Just way too hard in its initial state. So I'm going to keep it probably right here. Right above Chaikin. If you disagree with me, feel free to voice your opinion, but that was probably one of the hardest ones that I had to work with. Speaking about really hard to work with, JD Genetz. Some of you know that this was the part that killed me on one of my best runs before verification. It was also one of the parts where I looked at it and I'm like, how the hell do I nerf this to a 7-star? Because this used to not be auto. You used to have to figure out what to do. I think you had to hold. Then you had to let go. Then you had to hold again and let go. Then hold, let go, hold. Tap, tap. JD Genetz, not JD Vance. I looked at this and I'm like, oh my god, what do I do? I figured making the first part... I originally went for a hold because I didn't want it to be all auto. So this used to say hold, you had to hold into this. And then you had to stop by clicking your head on the top. And then you'd have to hold in the second half. However, looking back over it with the people and my playtesters, we decided that it'd be best to make both the sections, this first section auto, because it was very unclear that you needed to hold and the word passed by too fast. Visually, it is a little bit messy. I think it looks fine. Just the execution wasn't great. Also, this flower that they made technically violated the 1.0 limitations because this definitely used micro movements. So, yeah, it is the most intense part. I think it's a great part still, but it does. I think it's better than Bug Day. I am going to put it below Crew, though. Yeah, that flower, very, very cool art. It's just, I think it used micro movements, which kind of sucks because that's not allowed in 1.0, but yeah, it is a bit of an overwhelming part. You have to, this part's auto. Then you tap this orb. You can, I also made it, the problem when I was verifying is you're supposed to hold, but I also figured out in earlier playings that you can just tap it and it's auto. So I thought the auto would work better. The auto did not work better. I did change it though so that I can either tap it and do nothing or hold and complete it. So there's two ways you can do that. But there is a lot of room for error in that part. So I'm going to put it near the bottom of great. I do think it's better than Bug Days personally, but yeah. Okay, let's just start hitting these in order, I guess. Bwomps. Get ready. Visually impressive part. This transition has vexed me the entire collab process. No problem, Pancake. Your part was very good. We were debating whether it be S or high A, and we thought that it was intro S, so. Yeah, this part had a lot of secret ways, but this transition vexed me for so long, because this is a really hard thing to read right into if you haven't practiced. You can technically survive by just falling and tapping. It's just a little bit harder to do. Also, Raven Raptors proved that you can go really high with that. You could grab parts of the rocket portal and just fly around with it, which is why I replaced these with cube portals. So, I'm okay with the gameplay. I don't think it's an S tier. I do think it is an excellent. Where I would put it excellent wise. I put it probably right above Cody's. Oh, you thinking mid-A? I could also see that. Right below Goldcrafts could also make sense to me. Yeah, because there wasn't a whole lot of changing I needed to make, except for on the LDM. We had some problems, but that's because Walt made his own LDM. I'm going to put it right here, right below Goldcrafts. I think the gameplay's fine, personally. I think the execution and decoration were very well done. So, okay. Oh boy. Story time. If you were a playtester, you very well know this part because a lot of people were complaining. I'm, of course, talking about Curly Crew's part, which we had to drastically change. Gameplay stayed roughly the same, except we patched some of the secret ways. This used to just be a block of decal spam through all of this. Just decal spam, like a huge block of it. We used to have portal spam that was impossible to read what was going on. So, like, these yellow portals used to be, these yellow pads used to be just covered in yellow portals. This used to be like a giant blue portal going all the way down to the ground. Some really, really poor deco choices. Yeah, it used to be quite messy. Slodziax, you can see pictures of it inside the playtesting server. It used to be a very messy part. In fact, actually, you can see the original if you check out the unlisted collab showcase that's in the gigacollab info. You can see it, you can find it there as well. Actually, I might be able to find that myself. Oh, it'd be in the announcements. Yeah. We can see it here. Let me find it. Do you see what I mean? Yeah, this is what it used to look like. Comparison. I agree. That's why I tried to keep it as similar to what it was originally here. The problem was this part was such a mess. There were so many secret ways in the gameplay. It was hard to tell. The visuals made stuff hard to tell. Oh, shouldn't? Yeah, some people shouldn't make what's on their mind. I think they were just spamming Deco to try to add objects to make it look cool. And we got a little bit more of that there. By the way, finding objects for the LDM, these cube portals, there's like 2,000, there's like 2,000 to 3,000 of them in that spot. But yeah, we've fixed that up best we can. I'm going to put it there. I do less work had to go into that than had to go into Cubics Rube, but it is a completely changed man. There's not a D tier. It's still a good part. There's no D tier. Less fixes need to go into that than it need to go into Cubics Rube. So, believe it or not. I could also, actually no, because we also had to do, I forgot we had to do gameplay fixes too, so I'm going to switch it. Okay. We also have another a bit of a spammy part, Slurpy Goats. Starts right here. Hey, come on, it's not that bad, y'all. I'd still say it's good. Yeah, if there's something I noticed in this contest, is that people like to find a deco that looks cool and just spam it over their part. I'm not a huge fan of this. This looks pretty messy, in my opinion. This hand's also a little bit on the messy side, but I think deco's honestly okay. Execution's probably a little low. Gameplay, we did have to erase a couple spikes that were in the rocket part because it was too hard. But otherwise, not too bad. Oh, this part had to be fixed severely because it was really hard to see what to do. So we did have to fix that a lot. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool. It kind of gives like that dense core type vibe, but I think this is also another good part. I would personally put it above the part that erased everything on the LDM. I don't think I don't know if the deco is okay. The deco kind of feels a little amateurish in a way. Personally, I'm not a huge fan, but maybe I'm being too harsh. So I'm saying mid B. I don't think it's better than Cyborg's part, personally. If I was to put it in the B tier, I would put it actually probably right above Bug Days. Oh no, Zoobs. I'll put it right here. I see a low B. Actually, no. I think it's there personally. I think either Eric's part does a better, cleaner job, and the gameplay's enjoyable in Bobby Boys, and Zoob's part, it's not very enjoyable in Slurpy Goats, in my opinion. It's fine. It's a perfectly fine gameplay part, but it's not like a fun gameplay section. I think we're gonna put it in the high good tier. Still a good part. In the most recent version, there's still a part with Amazing Build Man. Send me a DM message about that, please. Send me a DM with that information. Maniac Dan, I don't think we've looked at your part yet, so. All right, let's get moving. Terminator. Dang, I'm having a hard time finding it. There it is. Solid gameplay, although I would often die to the last. I'd often die right here. That's probably just a skill issue on my end. I think the decoration's simple, but it's effective. I think it's a solid top of great tier, personally. I think it's a great part. I would put it somewhere up here. Yeah, I'd probably personally put it right below 4x4s, but I do think it's a little better than BK Gaming, so I'm going to put it right here. Okay, next one. Dr. Dairy. That's one that I don't really remember where it is. I know it's at the beginning. There it is. This is Dr. Dairy's part. This one, it's kind of just... It feels like a filled part. There's not too much special with this one, in my opinion. I think it does what it needs to do, which was they were a sub, so they filled in a part that wasn't going to be built, and it's effective at that. So I don't have much to say on it. I'd probably just put it in great tier. Yeah, I'd probably put it like right below Cyborgs. It's just kind of the average. Okay, I'm not gonna blame people for Secret Ways. Especially since I gave people very little time to make their parts. I'm not a huge stickler on that. And also, especially since I should have just been adding spikes to the bottom of every part to begin with. But yeah, it's an okay part. So I'm going to put it right here in great tier. Okay, Eggbird. Starts right here. Yeah, Eggbird's one of those parts that steadily grew on me as I was hosting this. Because, like, I feel like that looks pretty clean. I do think it's pretty cool. I don't know if it would be a high A, personally. It's not an S tier. But I would put it in the higher mid-A, for sure. I think I put it right below Goldcrafts, honestly. Well, no. I do like... I'll put it here. Yeah. The visuals aren't outstanding. They're I think they work very well. It is a little hard to tell some stuff. It's not better than your part, Pancake. Pancake, I had to change 0 things in your part. I had to do quite a few changes to Eggbird's part. But yeah, I think it's decently well executed. It's not better than your part. Well, I think it maybe could be argued either way. I'm going to put it here. That's what I meant to say. I'm going to put it right here. So I could also see argument for being like down near sulkies, but I'm just going to put it right here in the mid. Order doesn't matter too much to me, so. Next one, Electrospeedy. Gonna fly through these. This one I'm not a huge fan of, design-wise. Gameplay's pretty good. The design is quite basic, and the pull sticks feel a little on the spammy side. The sync's really good. Those pulls, the background pull syncs work really nicely, I think. Just, it's just, yeah, it feels some stuff's really out of place. Execution maybe could have been a lot better. I do think it's better than Dr. Dairy's. I would personally maybe put it right here. Slightly better than Cyborg's, maybe. No, right here. I think right here is a good spot for it. And actually, I might move this one up a little bit. No, okay, I'm gonna keep it there. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do that. Oh, you didn't like the gameplay? I thought the gameplay was fine. I didn't have any problems with it, but let's talk about Gania's part. I don't know if Gania is still in chat, but here's Gania's part. Gania has probably one of the biggest choke points inside the collab right now. Oh yeah, T-Double, I already got your part on there. Gania's part is really, it's deceptively difficult. That being said, I do like some of the design choices. The execution's really good. It's just really hard, and it doesn't look like it should be hard, but some of the ways that you can enter stuff can make it very awkward timing. So I don't know if I'd put this in low A or high great. I might put it right up near the top of great. Like maybe there. Yeah, I'm thinking high great. Because I really do like the designs they use in the 3D effect. It's just the gameplay. This is also a spot that killed me several times in the gigacollab verification. So, okay. Oh, we still got so many to do. Okay. I actually might have to save this for another stream. So, perhaps we finish this tonight. Because for now, I think I'm going to have to take a bit of a break. And we still got, how many do we got? We got 32 left. So we have done Cody's part. Cody's part is sitting here in the excellent category. It's 11th in the excellent. But yeah, here's our tier list so far. We have 16 superiors. A lot of excellence. $37 of them. A lot of goods. $38 of them. And then our goods is 15. So, yeah. I will leave it off for here. Thank you for participating in this stream, y'all. I will maybe stream tonight to get this wrapped up. For now, goodbye. Oh, Eggbird, yes. I think your part did. Let me check. Yeah, yours is an excellent, Eggbird. Good job. All right, goodbye, everyone.